What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another deck profile, and today I have probably one of my most meme deck profiles ever. And I didn't say mean, I said meme. M-E-M-E, meme deck profiles. This is pure barrier statue without wind barrier statue. So in front of me I have the main and the side deck, and I'll explain something later. But anyways, let's get into the deck profile. But before we do get into the deck profile, one thing I want to say is less than, you know, less than 1% of viewers are subscribed. So if you guys keep coming back to the channel and you enjoy these videos, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. My goal is 150 subs before July 6th of this year. That's my birthday. And I'm going to try and get a special deck profile put together for that day. Maybe two. And without further ado, let's get into pure barrier statues. So, starting off the list, we have 3 copies of Barrier Statue Water, of the basically Barrier Statue of the Torrent, which is fairly simple. It says neither player can special summon monsters that are other than water. And then we have 3 Fire, which is the same but for fire. And then we have 3 Barrier Statue of Earth, which is the same but for Earth. Yeah, there's not going to be too much like in-depth explaining into most of these monsters. It's just going to be, yeah, they just don't let your opponent play the game. Next, I'm playing 3 copies of Fossil Dyna. Fossil Dyna is super good. Just a blanket, neither player can special summon, or if it's flipped face up, it destroys all special summon monsters. So if you can stall out for a turn, flip this thing face up, you nuke your opponent's board, which, doesn't really come up. And then I'm also running 3 Inspector Border. If you guys haven't seen Distant Coder's video explaining what Inspector Border does, I highly recommend checking it out. But essentially, can't be normal summoner set unless if you control monsters. And then both players can only activate effects of monsters equal to the different card types among monsters on the field, being Ritual Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, Pendulum, and Link. And then if an effect's activation is negated, it still counts towards this count. So basically, you have this on the board and past your opponent. Your opponent goes normal summon Rhino Heart. That's the only monster effect they can activate that turn. Yeah, kind of crazy. And 2K body, pretty good. And that is it for the monster lineup. Now we get into the spells. This is where you could take the build into different routes. You could play a million floodgates on top of playing this, or you could go the route that I went, which is the cheaper alternative, which is the equip spell route. So we're playing 3 Power of the Guardian. Power of the Guardian, if the monster, or if an attack is declared involving the equipped monster, you put a spell counter on Power of the Guardians, and then if the monster equipped with Power of the Guardians would be destroyed by battle, you can remove a counter from Power of the Guardians instead, and yes, it can be used in the same, that effect can be used in the same battle. So it gives you like blanket protection as long as Power of the Guardian is equipped, and the equipped monster gains 500 attack and defense for each counter on it. Next, this is how you know this is like the cheaper alternative. We're playing triple mage power. Just a blanket 500 boost for each spell and trap card in your spell and trap zone. Pretty good card in this build. And then we're also on 1 Moon Mirror Shield, and this is the end of the equip spells. If you don't know Moon Mirror Shield, this card used to be a staple in rogue decks. Basically, anytime your monster battles an opponent's monster, it immediately gets an attack or defense boost that puts it 100 over your opponent's monster. And then if this card goes to the graveyard, you can pay 500 life points to put it back on top or bottom, which is why we only run the 1. And then to increase the amount of these that we see, we're running triple Hidden Armory. And that is it for the equip spell portion of the deck. Now we're going to move on to the generic spells for the deck. And I mean, these are going to be pretty standard. We got triple double summon, because if you open double summon 2 barrier statues, your opponent just can't special summon, and you completely shut them out of the game. And don't forget, if you have equip spells or ways to get into equip spells, double summon just kind of shuts out your opponent from the game completely. Then we're playing Pot of Extrav. Pot of Extravagance is the card I was gonna talk about, or that I'm gonna talk about real quick. I know I don't have an extra deck to display for you guys, but that's because you're never going into an extra deck with this deck. So just slam whatever 15 monsters into your extra deck that you want to, and here you go. You have Extrav. It's just a free draw 2, like the freest draw 2 out of any deck in the game is right here. Just draw 2 and barrier statues. It's Pot of Greed, bro. And the reason why I don't want to run Desires is because you don't want to banish your barrier statues, especially since we're on 9 barrier statues. Because Stormwinds is now banned as of the February ban list, which I know doesn't take effect until February 13th, but regardless, future-proofing the deck, this is how I did it. I bought all this stuff before that ban list even came out. And then for the final spell we're running is Triple Pot of Duality. You want to find your barrier statues as fast as possible, and these 2 cards will help you do it the most. However, I will say if you already own or plan on purchasing Pot of Prosperity, I would play Prosperity over Extravagance 10 times out of 10. Prosperity in this deck is just so much better. And like I said, banishing any extra deck doesn't really mean anything. And that is it for the spell cards in the deck. And now on to the traps. It's very simple. I'm running 3 summon limit, 3 Tikaboo. Do I really need to explain this? Tikaboo, you're only ever going to control one each of your types. Like, everything in here is a different type. You got Aqua, you got Pyro, you got Rock. Oh, well, you can't have Fossil Dyna plus Statue of Drought on board because they're both rocks, but then you have Machine. It's like, other than Statue of Drought and Fossil Dyna, Tikaboo doesn't hurt you at all. Summon Limit doesn't hurt you at all. You're never summoning 3 times in a turn. Sometimes you'll rarely summon twice in a turn. But yeah, that is it for the main deck. Now let's get into the side deck. Because like I said, there is no extra deck that I'm going to display because it's pointless. You're never going into it. So starting us off in the side deck, we have obviously our 3 Barrier Statue of Heavens and our 3 Barrier Statues of Abyss. The Light and Dark Barrier Statues, these are probably the more useless one, or the most useless ones, because of how many good light and dark monsters there are in Yu-Gi-Oh! And currently we are in a meta where it's dark dominant, so if you do want to play the Heavens over the Fossil Dyna and move Fossil Dyna to the side deck instead of Heavens, feel free. It's a pretty good card against tier. Because, like I said, blocking your opponent out of, extra X summons that are, or out of special summons that aren't, light is pretty good. And then for the next card, we have 3 copies of Dimension Shifter. Shifter is just kind of in every deck right now. It's one of the more important hand traps. It's complete blowout against some decks, and it's a flu player's wet dream to open with it. And then I'm playing 2 Vanity's Fiend and 1 Majesty's Fiend. These are just for if the barrier statues aren't performing enough, or if Fossil Dyna, isn't gonna cut it. You can slot these in instead of Fossil Dyna. I'm just playing Fossil Dyna in the main because I feel like a blanket neither player can special summon effect, which is what Vanity's Fiend is. And then Majesty's Fiend is neither player can activate monster effects. But Dinah doesn't require a tribute where Fiend does. So yes, Fiend is a bigger body, and yeah, you could get away with playing it, but I'd rather play Dinah in the main because it's simple. You normal summoning, throw Moon Mirror Shield on it. What is your opponent gonna do? Kaiju it? Oh wait, they can't because you can't special summon. Are they gonna, Lightning Storm call monsters? Probably. That's one thing this deck does die to is a lot of like board nukes. And then for the final card in the side deck, we have 3 non-fusion area. This one could be anything. This card could be anything. I threw this in here because tier. Non-fusion area says neither player can fusion summon. You flip this up against tier, you probably just win. Because them not getting the ability to fusion summon, it forces them to have to use their Lightning Storm on back row, or forces them to draw the Feather Duster plus Lightning Storm, or all this other stuff. But the side deck could be whatever you want. And like I said, this deck is not meant to be good. It's just meant to be funny. This is supposed to be a funny haha deck. You bring this to your play group, and then it's like, oh hey guys, look, I found this really really cheap deck that sucks. I literally bought the cards for this deck for just over $30. Yeah, a full 40 card main for, well, some of it I already owned, which is probably why it was a lot cheaper than it could have been. But extravs are cheap right now. The double summons are kind of cheap. They're like about $1 a copy. Less than $1 a copy, depending on if you want a shiny one or not. Moon Mirror Shield is probably $1 because it hasn't seen a printing since a starter deck. So, yeah. But everything else in this deck is cheap. Power of the Guardians is actually one that's probably you're going to need a reprint eventually. Because it has 2 printings, and one of them's a Megatin. The other one is its original printing, and those are the only printings it has. So anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this meme of a deck profile, let me know down in the comment section below. Also, share this video around. This is a budget deck. It's fairly simple. There's no real combos to it. And, like I said, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. My goal is 150 before my birthday. Or if I hit it on my birthday, that would be awesome too. And with that said, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.